Now we'll be turning to Mrs. Marie Failey to do our closing.
The facilitators are,
Yep, we're all back.
yes, we're all back. Okay. Did we want to hear from the facilitators or?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll just say a few things about our group. It was really interesting. Saul, who's from Nigeria, took the direction that, it's a good thing we have Donald Trump because he's showing what the problems that we have in America. And then he got into the importance of it would be very good if children and people go to other countries and see what other countries have and don't have. And then they would come back and really appreciate what we have. And the importance of Peace Corps volunteers. Amy reported that she's sad and it's difficult for her being in another country in Canada and not being able to see her family. So that's pretty much my summary quickly. Let's see. Failey.
Hi, so now I want to be as concise as you were. So,
I worked really hard for that.
so I will say this is the first time that my group had very distinct responses. There was a common theme towards the end, but we spoke about some of the things that cost each individual. One thing that stood out and actually I started to think about it, it also cost me that as well, cost of comfort zone. Someone said that, oh, by the way, I want to give a little, I was in my group, so I felt like I had to do really, really well with his opening and meet the challenge. But he gave a very inspirational story around what this time initially cost him. And because he leaned in on his spirituality, was able to truly reverse that. And that was employment. And at one point, his church, physical spirituality in the physical notion. And so he was able to actually come back out and give to the universe around what was going on for him. And he was blessed by utilizing that transparency and opening up. We also talked about some of the tools that everyone's using, yoga, really relying on spirituality. That was one of the common themes, and embracing faith over fear. And then also leaning into our loved ones. One of our members actually expressed that he experienced significant loss during this time, but he actually was able to utilize therapy, and it's been very helpful in keeping him in a positive space.
Okay. Thank you very much, Bailey. Dr. Clifton? Dr. Clifton? John?
Okay.
Oh, there he is. Okay.
It was a very depthful group today. Everyone spoke from a deeper place, and it started by reference to the opening speaker Chaka and his ability or his openness to transformation. But it happens from pain and going into the darkness. And we talked about the value of that opening up a lot of people, what we've been seeing and experiencing. And people, offered a lot of wonderful things from their own life and what they're all doing in different ways of talking to people who are not really open to it, or maybe would be on the not as empathetic. And then we move towards, kind of the value of empathy and how to elicit that in people. And it's not easy, but it's And then we ended with, how empathy can really be a teaching of empathy is through stories, personal stories, archetypal stories. And I thought it was a very good experience tonight.
Thank you very much. Jan?
Someone covered my group. Melanie, did you do that? Because I had a terrible technical issue.
We'll go.
John actually covered for your group, Jan,
Good,
for Mrs. Failey's reference.
thank you. So I have nothing to report.
Okay. Was someone reporting for? Oh, you couldn't be.
I couldn't. During the opening words, which were wonderful, I was madly trying to get back my power back. I had no internet. So while you were talking, I had a wonderful conversation with the intern that works with Melanie, and she's a delight. So that was good.
Okay. Might you say what you're doing to deal with this situation?
Oh, that's so kind. I'll just say that at times when I feel overwhelmed by everything that's going on, the excitement I'm feeling is I'm having the difficult conversations around dismantling. I am approaching clients and companies that I work with as a consultant and having much more courageous conversations around racism and issues of diversity, equity, and inclusion, and which is not really what people hire me for. So I'm loving that my personal passions and convictions are seeping into my work. And I think that's happening across the board. And I find that so encouraging from what I grew up in the 60s and 70s, where that wasn't happening in the same way. So.
And do you see that as part of what being the pandemic, that this is happening, that they're having these courageous, or just in general, they would be having?
I think they're having it in response to the murder of George Floyd and the demonstrations and that they are home, they're thinking more deeply. And I'm finding that companies that often could be perceived as being tone deaf on this issue are doing some very deep work around it. And so that's encouraging. It's a long way to go, but it's very encouraging.
That is wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thanks for asking. Thank you for asking.
Sean?
Hi guys. So for us, it started off. We had so many different perspectives, but it started off that there seems to be a positive and negative impact, both at the same time. Hold on a second. So it seems that there's a positive and negative impact both at the same time. And even with that, surprisingly, a lot of people are finding that some of their relationships are strengthening. They're being strengthened. And some people that they didn't speak to in the past, they're opening up to them, and they're actually talking to them more consistently now in this time when we have a pandemic. And the cost that unfortunately people have been suffering through, people have lost their jobs. People have it's cost them their relationships in business, and a lot of people are some people are also realizing. Also, people are realizing that others don't understand what they are going through, and some things that have worked for people, meditating, offering services. Also, we have people that are volunteering with the mental health initiatives. So things of this sort have definitely helped people. And the concern has also been that there's a polarization where it seems that sometimes we're living in two different countries. There's two different sides. It's been tough on people. And lastly, the emotional impact. Some people feel embarrassed by what is happening, and but the best way to break away from this is that we all have to just be honest. And of course, some people who are raising children, it seems that this pandemic, it's exacerbated these situations. It's even gone to some breaking points, but it's important to seek out, be honest, and get help, and just realize we're all in this together.
Great. Thank you very much. That was really incredible. There's just such a variety. So I'll just sum up now. Is that
I think we have one
we
more.
have,
Natalie?
we have oh, Natalie. I'm sorry, Natalie. Yes, Natalie. I'm so sorry.
Oh, no problem. Hi, everyone. We had a great group. We started out small and then we expanded and had some great conversation. Some of the emotions that our group are experiencing includes unreadiness, feelings of anxiousness, rage on one end of the pendulum, hope on the other end of the pendulum, anxiety, and at times for taking action, a fear of retribution. So that's interesting because I know that a lot of people are impacted and they feel a very specific way about what's going on. One of our participants said, what really matters, right, is the result that we're seeking. So at the end of the day, what's going to make a difference for us is being able to see the change that we seek. And until we see that change, we're going to continue to spiral through all these emotions. We had one participant who described what she's feeling as taxing. There's a taxing toll, taxing yet, and it's exhausting, but it's also invigorating and clearly very necessary that we understand and have a better awareness that everything we do or say has been shaped by a series of things that at this point we realize are not necessarily positive. And that this all took 100 years or more to create, and it's going to take a much longer time to dismantle. So there are a lot of mixed feelings and emotions about what's going on. And it was cited that this safe space on a Friday for some has been a lifesaver, has been the place to go when, they just don't know what else to do with this. There's a disturbingness that there's a disturbed feeling that we have to be active ambassadors. We have to take the conversation out of this space and get something done. So what are we doing? It's great talk, but how are we actually going to be able to move forward? We need to see action. We need to see and talk to the faceless people who need to hear what we have to say, what we've been sharing. We also recognize through one speaker that this is actually the second wave of Black Lives Matters. And this second wave has been embraced so profoundly, more so than the first one, right? Which was, I don't know if it was Trayvon Martin that triggered the first one, but this second wave has been just so large. It's been the tsunami that we didn't see coming. We also had one participant who had a very personal, scary experience of coming across a dark web group and actually being in the group's website and seeing the horrific language and the terrible things that were describing how to annihilate the minority population. She actively took steps to notify authorities and then struggled, as I mentioned, with that fear of personal retribution, of being sought out and, found out and punished for what she did. But she made a very profound statement. She said, more people, I'm learning, more people want to do good than evil. And I think if we have a mantra like that, if we have something that we can cling to, that there are actually more of us who want to see a different outcome. The others are just more strategic, sneaky. They maneuver, they are undercover. And so at times we overlook or we discount and we say, ah, it's just the way of the world. But there is so much more for us to be aware of, and this is a time of great awareness. There was also a very curious mention of the fact that this coronavirus and the way that people who are anti-minorities function might have given them an opportunity to perpetuate and spread the virus, right? Mask, no mask, stay in, don't stay in, do. It causes one to pause and think about how people can be destructive. But we have to stay on the positive side. We have to pull in mindfulness and meditation. We have to come up and go into our playlists so we can be immersed in a different sound. We embrace the concept of Black Lives Matters and understand at its heart what it's meant to do. And we need to keep talking. We need to keep writing. We need to keep sharing our stories.
Thank you very, very much. I think everyone has pretty much said, the conclusion. I'll make it brief because we have a time frame, but there seems with the whole group, with every group, there's a lot of resilience, there's a lot of care, there's a lot of joy in our living and our caring about each other and others and the community of people who are suffering. The pandemic has caused us to get out of our comfort zone, and that's probably a really good thing. And it's made many people look at their spirituality, and that gives them strength. And that's really what it's made us focus on. Well, what are our strengths? And what are the tools that we can use? Personally, what can we do? Yoga and church and really therapy with, we have Zoom, we can have Zoom meetings with mental health professionals, and that's really a great advantage, and I think they're out there available for everybody. Dr. Clifton specifically said ability for transformation, and that's what I think we see, and the value of empathy. And then when Jan said she's having very courageous conversations with people and businesses that she had not had before. Now, that's a real movement in the right direction, I would say. And that, there's a feeling of being disturbed, upset, but that usually leads to positive interaction. And then Shaw mentioned about being the positive and the negative impact. Some relationships are getting better and some relationships are getting worse, but they're all moving in a different direction, and hopefully in a very positive direction. So for the whole conversation made us very aware of the importance of mental health with the situation, and that we do have to reach out. If we reach out in small ways, with a phone call, with letter writing. I sent my grandson with blueberry muffins to give to people in the neighborhood, and make drawings to send to people. But there are bigger things too to be aware of how fortunate we really are. Things like Saul was mentioning, Nigeria and countries that don't have, some countries that don't have clean running water. We do. We have the resources. We just need to move forward with them. And I'd like most of all to thank Melanie, who has put the community together. And I think her ability to bring us together and to continue to bring us together in the conversations, future conversations about where each of us will be going with this, is really quite amazing and a miracle in itself. So thank you very much.